So good morning, everybody. Second day, Republica Thessaloniki #1. And same procedure as yesterday. We are waiting of Spiros Pengas. I hope he's coming in the next few minutes, but we have a very straight program for you. So I would like to ask Klaus Lederer on stage, and we start our conversation about connecting cities. And yeah, it's again super nice to say hello to you. So hello, how are you?
Good morning, everybody. I think this session a little bit will be a chance to warm up, and I hope Spiros is coming soon. Nice to be here. I'm very glad to be here. I think this is the most diverse conference in Berlin, also in Thessaloniki, with hackers, with bloggers, activists, with scientists, with politicians, I know, and in Thessaloniki also with diplomats. Yeah, and I hope, yes, our partner in this session is coming.
Yeah, well, I will just start. I thought about an easy question in the beginning. So asking for, we want to talk about connecting cities. So from the first perspective, how can cities connect? Okay, there's travel connection, there's maybe economic connection, but on the cultural level, how can cities connect, and how a city choose whom to connect to?
Yeah, there are a lot of possibilities. The traditional is to build partnerships between the cities. Berlin has more than 20 partnerships, but most of them are on the paper, on the white paper. Ceremonies, but no really action. And oh, he's coming.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
Morning. Good to see you.
We started, and his first question to me was, what are the possibilities to connect cities? And I mentioned the traditional form is to build partnerships, but Berlin has more than 20, and most of them are only on the paper. Every 5 years, the mayors come together and make ceremony, and after that, the situation is like before. Berlin has a lot of connections, international connections between the cities, capitals, through cultural institutions, orchestras, theaters, museums, galleries. The free scene of culture is also connected international, and it's not necessary to give a decrecy from the parliament or from the authorities. They do that. In the European Union, in the last years, we developed new forms to cooperate between the cities. I think the most interesting is the urban agenda. The urban agenda is founded 2016, and in 20 partnerships. 4 or 5 or 6 capitals in Europe cooperate to special topics. Berlin is in a partnership with Athens, with Helsinki, and other cities, and the topics are integrate immigrants, give them a social impact, give them chances. So I think that would be the better form than the traditional city partnership, because they are working together, they are changing informations, they are sharing competences and examples of good practice. And now we are sitting here in the Republica, Thessaloniki. I think all the best connection is to bring a civil society between the cities together, to build projects, to develop activities, to bring social progress, I think.
So in Thessaloniki, it is a little bit similar. So the white paper, and then nothing happens so much, or do you have maybe other strategies?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for being late. That's, as I said, the Greek publicate. Yes, I totally agree. I mean, nowadays there are non-conventional ways to connect somehow. These twinnings and partnerships are dead or half dead, and depend a lot on the elected governments, if they connect somehow, or they have the same mentality, the same perspective to the world, and so on. But there are definitely new ways on European level. There are the networks, the different networks of cities, like smart cities, like green cities, world food cities, food cities, and so on, which connect depending on the interest and the priorities of every city. And there are then non-conventional ways, like you mentioned also, events and happenings and cultural entities. For example, 2012, when I was also Deputy Mayor for Culture, we had the Schaubühne here in Berlin, and we had the Philharmonie, and so on, and we had Gomex. And through Gomex, everything started somehow, the connections, and now we have Republica here. And this is a continuity that has been developed through the connection, which was non-conventional, non-expected, disruptive in a way. It was an event which was not expected in the city, the World Music Expo.
So do you have I don't know, an office or somebody who's really responsible for dealing with your international connection? How Berlin is dealing with it? You're a European senator, but there's not a kind of a foreign ministry. My example would be in Berlin, there's a twin city situation with Los Angeles. And in the US, especially in California, East Coast, West Coast, overall, they try to have this more regional connections to the outer world after the election of Donald Trump. So what is our, in Berlin, who's responsible? Is this the mayor office? Or?
We have the chancellery of the governing mayor. They are responsible for partnerships between the cities. They are responsible for visits of the governing mayor or senate members of the Senate to other cities, of course. But I'm responsible for the European part of it. In my department, I have an office for European connections. We participate at the Eurocities network. It's really important and a good network, because cities, in my opinion, are more progressive than the governments of the member states of the European Union. Most progressive.
Yes. That's right.
So you can support to develop an agenda, not only to follow the national interests, but the common interests of the urban regions, between Barcelona, Berlin, Athens, or maybe Thessaloniki, where are parallelities. There are similar situations to manage the refugee situation, the climate situation, the situation of precarity of the creatives, and so on. Yes, but most connections we support through civil society or through the institutions. You can't order the cultural institutions to keep or to develop a partnership to other. You can't. They do or they do not. But best practice is the best to support these connections. For instance, yesterday I learned a lot about the source of this Republika here. Some years ago, people of Berlin, Berlin Music Commission, members of parliament, creatives were here at the WOMEX. They met a lot of people here, had first talks, first communication, and the next step was to come back. Christian, he is a member of parliament, was here. You has been here in 2012. 30. And step by step, they developed connections, stable connections between creatives in Berlin and in Thessaloniki, and step by step they developed the idea, and you, Andreas, you know, to do more, to organize congresses, to organize Austausch, communication, yeah, step by step. And I think this is stable. This is the art. This is the form to communicate in a continuous way.
Sustainable way, yeah.
This is the process, but of course what I admire in that case is that there is also institutional support regarding Germany. There is the consulate which supports all these activities, the foreign ministry who supports,
Goethe-Institut.
Goethe-Institut very much supported these connections. So this is what is a little bit missing from the Greek side. And Thessaloniki was a very different example. Thessaloniki has been a very introvert city up to 2010, when Yannis Boutaris was elected, and he said as one of his priorities the city's extroversion. And then everything changed, and we started gradually trying to put Thessaloniki on the international map. And I think that we managed in these 6-7 last years to change the character and even, I like to say, the DNA of the city. And now this is coming down to the society and the civic society and the culture and the creative community and everyone. And everyone is thinking how I connect to the world and to Europe and to other cities and so on. And this is the success of that story, in my opinion, that we managed to change people's way of thinking somehow, and saying that, guys, we need to connect, you need to look out to the world. The local market is too small for anything, not just for money, for earning money, but even for showing your creativity and your intelligence and what you are producing. And this is one of the profits of the local government of the last few years, in my opinion.
Before we talk about really concrete mechanisms and maybe concepts, we can kick off today, like we talked yesterday about residency program, for example, which is in a small level already Goethe-Institut is doing. I'd like to ask another question about this hub situation of a city. So Berlin is a hub for creatives. A lot of people coming to Berlin since 2 decades. Starting with music and freedom, over the arts, etc., etc. And Thessaloniki, it's a hub for the region, the Balkan area. A lot of people like to come here. Very important because of education. Is there a strategy for a regional connection, like in Thessaloniki, for example, to the Eastern Mediterranean area? Because that would, for Republika, be very interesting. We have a few sessions today about how to connect, for example, the Arab region with here, but of course the Balkans, of course Turkey, of course the other region. And in Berlin, after you answer, is there something fresh starting to, for example, work together with Poland or with the Scandinavian region, or is this only this white paper thing? Because we have the situation in Poland from the government side, which is really anti-Europe. So maybe first we start with the region here.
Yes. I mean, I can mention a few examples and a few policies that we have exercised the last few years, starting by my specialty, the tourism sector. I mean, when 2011 the local market collapsed somehow, we said that we want to attract visitors from abroad. 2010, Thessaloniki had 75% of its visitors were Greeks. And then we said, okay, how we do that? And the idea was, the mayor's also idea and vision was to bring up the multicultural past of the city and exploit it in attracting visitors from certain markets. So we talked a lot about the Jewish community and the Jewish past of the city. Thessaloniki was called the Jerusalem of the Balkans. Then we talked about the Ottoman past of the city. And that had a direct impact to markets like Turkey, Israel, for example. And we had an increase of incoming tourists the first 3 years from Israel through 350%, and from Turkey 250%. And then we said, okay, we managed to do that. Now let's go out to the Balkans, which is the hinterland. We traveled extensively in the Balkan capitals. We've been in Sofia, in Bucharest, Belgrade. Skopje was the first trip that we made, Mayor Boutaris, with a very strong opposition from local nationalistic forces in our city and in Greece. But when things started running in a way, and tourists were coming, and there was an exchange with all these people, and there was money flowing into the market, and getting to know the people from Turkey, for example, how similar we are, how the people and not the politicians connect, the attitude changed totally. And now, in exercising these policies, we have the people with us, actually. And they approve of opening up the city to Israel, to Turkey, to Istanbul, Constantinople, to Izmir, and so on. And even to the Balkans. I mean, I always like to say, and people sometimes laugh on me, that Thessaloniki and Chalkidiki together, they are the Californian coast of the Balkans. I've traveled all over the Balkans, and they really love the region. They want to come down here and reach out to Thessaloniki and stroll on the streets and enjoy the cafes and the food and the cultural life and everything. And we have been somehow snobbish towards them the previous decades. And so this is changing. There is a huge potential in the area. Turkey is a huge market for us. And that was also the idea with COMEX. That was the idea by initiating, at that time also 2011, 2012, World Music Festival here at the port, which was not continued. Or we have another initiative called Study in Thessaloniki. We have connected the 4 public universities and the 7 private schools, and we go abroad all together and do road shows in order to present Thessaloniki as an educational hub, mainly for the region. We already have students from Kosovo, from Skopje, from Albania, and so on, but there we have a huge potential to increase the numbers. And this is very important for us because this is not just short profit. This is all these brains coming to Thessaloniki that are going to produce innovation, ideas, entrepreneurship, and jobs tomorrow.
Thank you, very interesting. So for Berlin, are there some new things? Because what I learned already today, the more innovative state bodies are the cities, because they are closer to the people, they are more flexible, they are more regional, political organized. Maybe the German Federal Foreign Office will not hear that, so that they're not the top level of the government is the thing. But what is there an initiative between the Berlin body and, for example, Poland or Czech Republic, etc.?
If you allow me, Klaus, and the cities are somehow more liberal and progressive than
true. Yeah, of course, yeah.
As we have discovered in the last years.
Of course. Berlin is a wonderful, diverse, moving city. Yes, but in 2000 we had no economic basis for development of the city. No, it was terrible. We had a budget crisis, and so at first we had to cut the budget. Step by step, and to develop a regional strategy to support the economical development of the region and of the city of Berlin. So the government concentrated to special sectors of economic, medicine, traffic, digital, media, culture, and I think it was correct to choose these hotspots, to support economical development in the city. And now the situation is much better. We have enough money to invest in special sectors, not only economic, but social, housing, education, also culture, sports, and I think
we do not have, maybe coming to the point with the international exchange.
Yes, and it's a strategy together with Brandenburg.
Ah, okay. And this is international.
Brandenburg is, but it's necessary because Berlin is growing and growing and growing, and has no there isn't, it's not ending at its own Stadtgrenze, borders. And we tried to develop connections between Poland and Germany, Danzig, Gdansk, Wrocław, Breslau. But the political situation is difficult. The authorities in Poland don't want to support that. So now we focus on the connection between civil society and, if possible, economical partners in Poland. Next year we have a cultural train between cultural capital Wrocław and Berlin. Next year I'll pay that from my budget, so that we continue that people from Berlin can go there and people from there can go to Berlin. But it's step by step, and it's a low level.
So this train thing is also kind of a symbol. I think here in the region, the train track again back to Belgrade was opened a few months ago again after years, I think. So,
yes. There's another example. The Romanian government with the Romanian Railways started a vacation train, starting from Bucharest, going through Sofia and reaching out Thessaloniki for 3 months in the summer.
Interesting.
So there are some ideas of connecting, even if it is train or flights. That was the case with Turkish Airlines, when our mayor went to Istanbul and said, how can you not be connected with the birthplace of Kemal in 2011? And they started having 2 flights per week, and now they have 2 flights per day.
Oh, super!
The connections are
the sad thing is we're just nearly in the end of the time. But I promised that we want to talk about something what we can focus on in the next weeks and months. What could be a work together between Berlin and Thessaloniki? Yesterday, on top of the networks we already have, we talked yesterday about kind of a residency project. I think it is not the goal to have this partner city approach, because this is just a kind of a bubble without content inside. So what could be a very clear vision, for example, doing an exchange program for 10 students every year, maybe we find other ideas. And after that question, I would like to have 2 short questions from the audience.
Yep, I think we should try to support the cooperation between creators, Berlin Music Commission, and the local partners. I think that's the first, because there is a basis. It's not necessary to start at zero. Yeah, step by step. The next is I think we should try to find partners in the cultural level. Yeah, yesterday we had a meeting on the boat. Talking about diversity in culture, talking about spaces for non-commercial cultural development, because it's a basis for economical, and so on. So I think we need partners. We need concrete persons. They guarantee this connections. It's not only possible via digital contact. Yes.
So that would mean we should establish something like a Thessaloniki Berlin task force or something, for example. What would you, Spiros?
I think it's still existing a little bit. Yes.
Okay.
But they are not here. Why?
Yes, also in my opinion, we should leave the politicians as far away as possible.
But we can support it.
And try to connect the people. This is very important. And what is already happening is already good. I mean, having this exchange on cultural and creative scene level is very good. And this is something that we should strengthen, hasten forward. I would not look for political connections somehow. So
I see. I will not get a very concrete. We will do this in this project, but I take with me that if there's an idea on the table to, for example, for such an exchange program, you would really like to do it, and we have to talk about details.
Yes, I think we have to support this, the development other people began.
Cool. Exactly. Okay, that's an outcome, I would say. So 2 short questions in the audience. Who maybe want to ask this to vice mayors from Thessaloniki and Berlin? I think I was never on stage with 2 vice mayors in my lifetime. Maybe this encourages you to just stand up and have a question. Okay, no more question on that. So we are perfectly in time, Sandra. She will be very proud. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope we will continue this conversation outside. So you will be here the whole day. You will be here also for a longer time. So thanks for listening, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.